university now.
No, I think I was asking. I was just quoting.
Quoting.
Yeah, those are my words.
And
She
we
said that.
are live.
Can't confirm
Yeah.
tonight.
Alright.
Hello,
Cool.
hello.
Sounds good to go.
Great
Right,
to
thanks
go.
for coming, guys.
Thank you for
Much
having us.
Thank you for
appreciated.
having us.
No problem.
So
Thanks for
just
that.
to introduce the show quickly. So, Student Light, Student Spotlight Live. I haven't done this show for about a year now, but Student Light is a business of mine which I'm trying to launch, focused on helping with student retention, poor mental health and higher education, trying to boost the goals and ambitions of students, and talking about how getting involved in communities like yours, Entrepreneurship Society, can benefit students. And not only that, we're going to talk a bit about entrepreneurship in general, because I'm sure we've got loads of entrepreneurs on campus. Actually, there's an article that came out recently.
Oh yeah,
you remember it? Yeah, so we can talk about that as well, and just the fact that we have so many entrepreneurs on campus, and it's such an interesting topic. Entrepreneurship is not, could be for everyone. Not everyone has the skill sets or goals or drive or ambitions to be able to do it successfully. So that's what makes it a really interesting topic. So to introduce you guys, I'll let you introduce yourselves. Just your name
first.
and your position within the society.
Just a part of the society, Rochelle here, and yeah, just a part of the society.
My name is Ash Khalifa. I'm the treasurer of the society at the moment, and I'm a student doing creative technology.
My name is Taj. I'm studying business management, and I'm a part of the Entrepreneurship Society, and I'm also co-hosting it on the radio show.
Yeah, because you guys got your own radio show for entrepreneurship.
Yes,
right?
we do. We have the entrepreneurship show.
So what do you study? I don't think.
I study education studies, to be a
Okay.
bit more precise.
Right, so welcome to the show. So, Entrepreneurship Society, when did it get started? How did it get started? Obviously, I already know the answer to this question. but
Yes, you
let's
do.
talk about it anyway.
Let's
for
talk
the
about it
audience.
anyway. All right. So basically, I joined the uni in 2017, and I was quite interested to hear that they had an enterprise development hub. But then when I went on the Students' Union website, I couldn't find an entrepreneurship society. And then this was around about like November, December. So I sent an email hoping to create a society. And then I got a response back saying, "Oh, you're out of luck. Someone literally 2 weeks ago just created an entrepreneurship society." And you know what? Actually, I'll put you, two of you, in touch together. And then that's when we realized that Andre had set one up, and we both knew each other. And yeah, we just took it from there. So we've set up January 2018 was sort of like when we set up officially as a society. And then in February we had our first very successful event. We managed to get more than 50 people. We literally blitzed the whole campus with marketing. We made a lot of snazzy videos made by Andre. And then over the years we've sort of been picking up pace, and now we've done quite a lot of successful events and workshops this year.
Nice. I remember that event very well. I remember we had people walking past the room who looked inside and realised there wasn't any seats, so they couldn't get in.
Oh yeah, we had to turn them down.
It has a massive
That many
success.
people.
Imagine.
The room was packed.
It was mad.
It was absolutely packed. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my one and only event in that society, and then I had to leave because
Became
got busy.
a full-time member of staff, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was that, and I had a lot of freelance work on at the
yeah.
time as well, so I had to take a step back. But yeah, it's
Student
definitely
life.
a great experience. exactly.
And you also were a part of another society, I remember at the time.
Yeah, I was part of
Which is
the
quite similar.
Unlimited Potential Society. I wouldn't call it similar as such.
Like in the sense, like it's quite innovative, quite entrepreneurial, quite like about developing people's skills, right?
Yes, yeah. To be honest, this business student, like the whole platform, its foundations were built on that society. So I was going around campus speaking to 50 students a week, asking them what barriers and struggles they face that affect their studies. And then as a society we came up with lots of solutions to those issues, and then worked with the university services to be able to tackle those things. So all that information has kind of been forming what my business is going to be, and it's built on that foundation.
That's amazing.
I wish I could still be part of it, to be honest. I miss being involved in societies and the student community in general.
I can imagine.
Obviously now I work at university, so I'm still around it. It's just in a different way. So this is kind of my first chance to re-engage with the student community, and all that stuff I've been missing.
That's what's up, man.
Are you still allowed to be a part of it, like even if you're alumni?
What do you mean? In terms of societies?
Yeah.
No, not really. There are some alumni who would continue to support or come to some events, but officially it's not set up that way. But it happens. It's just how it is. But yeah, if you guys wanted to come back and give a talk or something, more than happy. So yeah, obviously you study the same thing that I study, creative technology.
Yes.
What's that course about? How's that going?
So it's a very sort of dynamic course, and it's sort of reactive. So it's about what people on the course are interested in that year.
Yeah.
And then the way that it's structured and set up, each student is supposed to sort of bring what they are interested in and trying to get that into the group. We're looking at mostly the new technologies of the upcoming ages, sort of VR, AR, artificial intelligence, blockchain, wearable technology. We do a lot of like mechatronics and electronics, and then we also sort of have to work to a client brief, so we sort of adapt something to a particular limitation, and then the way that we're supposed to submit our assignments, we're supposed to make a video over the whole process, and it can't be more than 5 minutes, and then you submit a report as well. And then I like the way that the course is because they want you to take risks and get out of your comfort zone, so they don't grade anything except for the final project when you're sort of got all the skills and you're sort of a little bit more ready to deal with that.
Okay. Yeah, I remember that course very well. That's really I love the amount of technologies we're exposed to. The technology you just never get the opportunity to be able to use. Stuff like the virtual reality, the augmented reality devices worth tens of thousands of pounds that you just never get your hands on. It's like the HoloLens.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are still using that, but
Yeah.
I found that stuff fascinating. I'd love to do more than that, but I was on a mission to have my business. I was there to work on that. So yeah, I think if I was allowed myself to have a bit more of an open mind, and I didn't have a mission, I would have got so much more out of that course. But the skills I got through it, I've still used today. I mean, it's really valuable. I use them on my job in ways you wouldn't expect. Like the whole idea of my undergraduate was in 3D animation and games, and although I don't do any more animation as such anymore, like all the gamification techniques when it comes to me now working in marketing, I can still use. So I can use things that will encourage people to sign up to a platform or continue to use a platform. Creative technology, that course, has kind of done the same thing for me in that sense as well, in terms of understanding things like UX design and the process of a project and how to really understand an audience before you go and develop something for them. And that's something you use in marketing all the time. You're always trying to understand your audience, what they want. So education studies, why'd you get into that?
Education studies, one, because I was in the teaching profession, two, because I could see a lot of things that I didn't like and I wanted to make change, so I thought, embark upon it. Go and like rattle the cages a little bit.
Okay. What was it? Was it in higher education or schools that you wanted to change?
I just think it's
Or just the education structure in general?
education structures that goes to the policymakers. So there's things that I didn't like, and I thought, need to make a change somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, education studies, we cover the historical, the political, the social side, social justice, democracy, all of these interesting topics. So looking at that, it kind of just enables me with all the knowledge as well as the practical stuff that I do to kind of go out and make the change that I can in education. So yeah.
You found it beneficial so far? Kind of
Very.
see your direction you want to head down?
Yeah, I'm already doing it, so I'm excited, super chuffed.
So what's brought you to the Entrepreneurship Society?
Because in education you look at a lot of statistics that talk about, underrepresented ethnic minorities, and you think, okay, what can I do to kind of join these activists, these educational activists that's out here, promoting social justice or equality or equity. So how can I support that? And I thought, okay, let me join a society, come up with a business structure and kind of get something implemented in school. So obviously tackle some of those, attainment gaps or, kids that are consistently getting excluded from school and sent to pupil exclusion units that are not actually given, the opportunity. And those kids, some of them are a lot more intellectual than a lot of academic students. So if you think about it, some of these students are involved in drugs and selling weed and a lot of these other things.
Yep.
That takes numbers. I'm not good at numbers. So they must be doing something right, and if they're good at all these numbers, they can apply it to something else. They just need someone to help them and give them the opportunity. So, you know, I try to get into education and come up with an innovative solution for some of these problems, and I think we need more people like that in education.
Definitely, that's admirable. Second. What about yourself? What do you study again?
I study business management.
Business management. So kind of makes sense why you're in the Entrepreneurship Society. Was it having a business idea that made you wanting to get into business, or was it a case of you knew you wanted to be involved in business, you just don't know what you wanted to do with it yet?
Say from a young age, I was always told that I had like an entrepreneurial mindset. You know, so since then, I always saw it as, okay, career-wise, I'm going to go down the route of being a doctor, going into medicine, or being an entrepreneur. So when I got to college and realized that A-level chemistry is, it's as hard as they say it is, I went down the entrepreneurial route by studying or choosing to study business management.
How's it going so far?
So far, you know, we're hitting bends and winds, but you know, definitely getting there. It's a long road, but you know, there's, as they say, there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
May I just add something?
Yep.
They are not showcasing themselves because both of them are super talented. You've got this one over here, he's got his business, and you've got this one over here, he's already had his business,
really?
You know, moving on to different ventures. So you've got to give them props. They're not mentioned, they're being super humble. So just got to throw that in there.
Yeah, we'll dive more into that. So Ashraf, tell us about your business.
So basically, I set up Sudan Hub, and I'm actually approaching my 10-year anniversary in 2021. So in 2011, there was a lot of negative issues and stories surrounding Sudan. That was mainly because the south portion of the country was going through a vote to decide whether they wanted to leave or not, and then unfortunately 98% of them decided that they did want to leave and create their own country. So in July they created the newest country in the world, and then sort of that was the pivotal moment that helped me set up my business, because a lot of times when I told people I was from Sudan, it was either negative or blank stares. So I was like, okay, I want to build something that can change that. So I set up a website. And then I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it, so I sort of kind of got carried along. And then after about 2 years, I came up with another idea, and that was because I wanted to get a mentor to help build my business. And a lot of my teachers and a lot of the people I reached out to told me you should try to find a Sudanese businessman, because you know he'll understand the market, understand the business. And unfortunately, I couldn't really find anyone. I couldn't even think of anyone. So that sort of made me set up Sudanpreneur, where I sort of looked out for all these successful personalities, shared their story, and tried to inspire the next generation. Also, a big part of that was also because in Sudan, the parents' pressure to do medicine is very, very strong. And I didn't want people to sort of if they had a talent, whether it's football or DJing. So a lot of times I try to find success stories in those niche areas where it's like sort of someone following their passion. And then over the years, I sort of like been developing it, and now that I've come onto this course, I've come up with an innovative way to share and showcase Sudan to the public at a cheaper way. So I want to take some 360 videos and film some beautiful locations in Sudan, and then do an immersive experience where I invite people to wear the headset, try some food, see some art, photos, culture, and then get a sample of Sudan, and also try to raise awareness, educate people, and then eventually I want to actually take people physically to Sudan and bring them back as well.
Wow, that is a lot. That sounds amazing. I know your Sudan page it's got thousands of likes, hasn't it?
Yes. So my on Instagram I've got more than 7,800, and more than 2,500 on Facebook.
Wow.
Yeah, so slowly
There's
building
me
up.
with my 300 likes on Facebook. Everyone starts somewhere, right?
Definitely, and I remember those days. So don't give up hope, and the good days will definitely come.
Yep.
100%.
Good days are here. This is my good days.
Exactly.
Got to fall in love with the process, right? That's one thing I always hear from entrepreneurs
That's
who've made
it.
it. Like, the more you enjoy the process of building your business, the more likely you are to be successful.
Absolutely.
Wise words.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We've lost one.
We've lost.
Probably making business calls. I'll let him talk about his business. So let's talk a bit more about the society for now.
Okay.
So in terms of events and activities, what was the goal of setting it up in the first place? What was your interest in setting something like that up?
For me, the main thing was networking. So I know universities have the potential to have a lot of entrepreneurs. So I wanted to get them talking to each other, helping each other, supporting each other. And then also bringing down guest speakers and workshops as well. Because I think a lot of the times, the business schools, if they do bring a speaker, people from other schools either don't hear about it or don't think that they're invited.
Yeah.
So a big part of what I wanted to do with the Entrepreneurship Society was to make sure that it was it allowed everyone across all schools to have access, and even with the events and the workshops and the experiences that we brought, we tried to cater to everyone's interest, not just to like typical business type programs.
Yeah.
So thankful, like this year we were actually very lucky. We got down these two partners that set up a company that was actually profiled on Dragon's Den, and they secured £70,000 investment.
Whoa.
And so
I did not
basically,
know about that. How did I miss that?
So there's only one company in England that makes all the graduation robes. So this, I think they were uni friends. So they, I think after the graduation, they met up and they decided to set up a business where they wanted to create these graduation gowns, but using recycled ocean water plastic, and then also have it at lower cost, but at the same time like a better experience. So they actually send it to your house and you receive it in the post, and you send it back, so that way you don't have to worry about getting in the queue on like the most important day. And then they came and talked about their experience. So that was very inspirational. We also had another speaker who was the CEO of a FTSE, I think it was a FTSE 200 a pharmaceutical company.
Yeah.
And basically he just got the job as a CEO like a couple years before. And his talk was about like, when I was at uni, my dream was to become a CEO.
Yeah.
And now that I've achieved my dream, sort of just reflecting on the journey, the experience. And then also this year we took advantage of the Global Entrepreneurship Week, which is
I can't remember when it is myself.
I think it's October 8th, I believe. Sometime in the month of October.
Yeah.
So we did a series of workshops about entrepreneurship, marketing, and a little bit about digital marketing, LinkedIn. And I managed to run the workshops as well. We had some good turnout, so that was quite good.
Oh, nice.
We might actually run them again towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if people's exam and busy period permitting. If not, I don't know if we'll have any more events. But we were also working in partnership with Richmond University's Entrepreneurship Society to potentially do sort of a joint collaboration event where it's either sort of a competition where it's going to be, they sort of give you like a brief and then you come up with a solution on the day, and then that way you could sort of do it like Middlesex against Richmond. Or it might be people that have ideas that they want to pitch, and then sort of have on the day people winning a prize. But the issue with that is obviously around non-disclosure and people stealing ideas and
yeah. I know there's something about that. I've never feared someone stealing my idea. I remember I've got some shocks from thinking, oh my gosh, someone's made my idea, and then realising it's different.
different.
But it's like they always say that pretty much every business idea has already been thought of or created. It's just the way you do it based on your experiences that makes it different.
Your personality.
So even if your product already exists out there, that shouldn't deter you from moving forward with an idea, thinking you can do it better or in a way that's more relevant to people who've maybe had experiences like yours.
Question.
Yep.
Having said that, what's your perception on the McDonald's story?
McDonald's story. You have to be more specific.
So McDonald's was created by I think it was two brothers. and then it was a very small kind of business, and then someone came along to help,
Yep.
and then that same person literally took their concept of the business and created it into a franchise that branched all over the world. Now it's, you know,
So McDonald's was
they're the
still
largest
idea.
real estate company in the world.
Their main business now is real estate.
Yeah.
What, so that people who came up with the idea of McDonald's, or the business model for McDonald's, got their ideas stolen, and then went to go and do something else as a result?
No, we don't know what they do now.
I did not know that story.
There's a movie about it.
So?
There's a movie about it.
What's it called?
Oh, that's a good
McDonald's.
question.
Yeah, something like that. Something to do with something McDonald's
If McDonald's is in the title,
Is it on Netflix?
or something.
It was on Netflix.
I've got to check that out.
Yeah, I think I
It's
saw
a
that, yeah.
it's a controversial one. It's a very controversial one.
But for me, I never think things like that is a bad thing because everyone has, different personalities. If you look at, for example, Malcolm X, and you look at someone like Elijah, those were two very powerful people standing side by side. Elijah had crowds, he could captivate crowds, and you got Malcolm X, who was just a powerful speaker.
Yeah.
He could go in, he spent his time in prison reading thousands of books, and he came out and he went under the wings of Elijah, but still was able to go on and still captivate more people because of his stage presence, the knowledge he had, his delivery. So everything's different in business. You can have an idea, but the way I'm going to deliver it, the way I'm going to talk, the capital I have, whether it's social, cultural, it all kind of comes together, and that's what changes, how a person actually becomes successful from just having this idea. So I think no one should be scared because no one has the same skills or the same traits or the same qualities like that person, or no one even, the way everyone thinks is so different anyway, just because of all these sociological factors that would obviously impact us. So no,
Yeah,
I don't think
absolutely.
anyone should ever be.
Did you watch the Malcolm X documentary? That was
Which
it was
one?
amazing. Who Killed Malcolm X on Netflix?
I've started it, but I haven't finished it yet.
I did not see it turning in the way that it turns. Like I thought a few episodes in, I can see all this going because they repeat a lot of things, and then I'm not going to ruin it for those people watching who haven't seen it yet. All for you
I haven't
guys who
seen it,
haven't
but
seen it
I
yet.
have a bit of knowledge on it.
I seen the first episode or half of it.
Yeah, but it is really interesting. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you go and watch the whole thing because
Right.
there's a twist at the end. Keep watching. If you lose a bit of interest, which
Have you
I
seen the
doubt you
movie?
do because it's so engaging. I haven't. No.
Okay,
I need
I've seen
to
the
see
movie,
that.
the one
The
with
book's
Denzel.
better though.
Yeah, obviously.
Books make so much
The
better.
book's always better, isn't it?
Legendary movie, but-
Yeah, I read the book as well. The book is quite good.
Yeah, I have to check that out. I'm an audiobook kind of person
Detroit
myself.
Red.
But yeah, entrepreneurship. Let's dive right back in.
Yeah, let's jump into it. So, understanding what you do, I want to hear more about your entrepreneurship journey so far.
Ooh,
Because it
alright.
sounds like you've had some ventures.
Yeah, I have actually. So where do you want to start?
From the
Should I start
beginning,
from the
because that's a
beginning?
good place.
Okay. So
Actually, let's put it into context of the competition we're both part of at the moment. So they're always looking for. You went to Matt's talk, right?
Matt and Enrico.
Matt, one of the judges from the competition,
Yeah.
when he was talking about what was the what's your why.
Mhm. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
that
let's start
was-
with your why. Let's start with the thing that triggered you and made you want to start wherever you wanted to start.
My why? Okay. Well, I think if I remember correctly, what I said in Matt's why, I answered the question when he said it, or when he asked it, and it was to basically stand up for injustice, really, and make sure others know what they need to do. So let's say you've got someone who doesn't have the skills or the experience, but they have a dream and a vision to get to a certain place.
Yeah.
On their journey, they may meet or get into certain hurdles and brick walls that can be overcome if you see or speak to the right person. But if you go to the wrong person, you could get taken advantage of. Things like intellectual property being stolen.
Yep. Like the McDonald's
That is
story.
the case, especially in the business world. The business world is very cutthroat. So that's my why, really, just to help others.
Yeah. So let's talk more about the business itself, unless you don't want to.
No, that's fine.
Given the story you just told me, I wouldn't blame you.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, let's hear more about that. Tell me about.
So the business that I put into the MDX Accelerator program.
Yeah, let's hear about that.
Okay, so the business I put into the program is called NPA. It stands for Nebula Phones and Accessories.
Okay.
Basically, it's a business I created off of an accident. So what happened was, I think it was during first year, I had got my iPhone, was about to get out of the cab, and I dropped my phone. My phone broke, and I break a lot of phones, let's just say. But I felt annoyed. I refused to go back to a shop to give them my money, have them fix my phone, and have it possibly broken 2 weeks later because maybe screws are missing and I didn't even know because I didn't know how to fix the phone. So what I did was I used my initiative and my small bank account at the time to go onto YouTube, see how it was possible to fix it was an iPhone 5S, to see how possible or how easy or hard it was to fix a phone. Went onto YouTube, thought, yeah, great, cool, 5-minute tutorial, got this. Bought the part, went to fix the phone, broke the phone even more. So I went to my uncle, who was for a number of years, I think just over a decade, he was an engineer. He used to fix phones, and then he moved on to security. So I went to him, and he showed me that times have really changed, because he was in the industry years before, and when I went to him with my phone, I was hoping he could fix it, like, yes, you must be able to. He showed me that times have changed. He didn't know how to fix the phone, and not only didn't he know, he didn't want to fix the phone, because according to him as an engineer, iPhones did things completely different to other companies before they entered the phone market. So apparently even the way certain components are laid out, it's tedious for the engineer apparently. So I was stuck. So I spent the whole night trying to fix the phone, and in the end I got there. So
Nice.
I got that sense of achievement and fulfillment, and then after that it was just a road. Just went to fix other people's phones, went to learn more, and then all of a sudden people started coming to me to get their phones fixed. So like I then became the person that people come to either get a phone case or get something fixed. And I thought, let's see how profitable this is. Let's see how accessible this is. So yeah, I just took one accident and turned it into something great. But what I'm really excited about with the business is I've now got the ability to do something really cool. Something I haven't seen before as well, which is utilizing crystals and gemstones and the technology that they have, and incorporating it into phone accessories to combat the negative uses of technology.
Okay. What do you mean by that? Combat negative?
So we've got with the communications industry, we now have the popular networks, 4G, and now one of the most popular and controversial networks at the moment, which is 5G. We've seen it in the news, we're seeing it all over the world really, and out of the world actually as well. The negative impacts of it is it's curious. Let's just say there's a lot of speculation on it, and there's a lot of evidence now. It's building up that 4G may be carcinogenic to humans, may be harmful to sentient beings.
Yeah.
And with 5G now, rolling along, we're definitely seeing the effects. Last year, Sweden, they launched their 5G network, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but a large number of birds fell out of the sky and died instantly.
Oh wow.
So
Oh my gosh.
the effects are very serious,
Very instantaneous.
Wow.
very instantaneous.
I hear
So,
like they
that's
can.
happened to birds. You can only imagine what it's doing to humans.
Exactly.
What it could do.
But it's
Not very
affecting
dangerous.
all sentient life.
I heard it's also affecting with like the aorta or aorta sacs in our lungs that absorb the hemoglobin and the oxygen. Basically, so you know how like it's called H2O because it's got like two hydrogen atoms connected to each other. So what happens with the 5G is it basically makes these particles vibrate and then they detach from each other. Sort of like
radical substitution.
Yeah, so then our bodies cannot absorb oxygen from the air that we're breathing, and then we literally will die within like a minute or so, because obviously our brain without oxygen will function, which is similar to like how the birds are just dropping out of the sky and a lot of
it's
other
quite funny as well, because that's also one of the main
symptoms
of
coronavirus. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Let's not get controversial, guys. Because
I did say it was
my controversial side's about to come out here.
Wow, that's really interesting.
That's
it's probably
interesting.
my dad, he's a businessman himself. He's been a photographer for years. Obviously, when you're a freelancer, by nature you're a photographer because you're always actively looking for work. So you kind of fall under the bracket of entrepreneurs anyway. But always making business calls all day for years on end. And it's got to the point now where you can't put a mobile phone up to his ear without feeling some kind of weird sensation when he puts his phone there. I was like, because he always speaks on the loudspeaker. He's like, Dad, we don't all need to hear your calls. But it's just, he does it because he feels this weird thing. He's like, if I don't do this, I feel like I'm going to be damaging my ears even more. So that's,
you know what? I actually have another weird thought. Like for me, I've been told that like putting your ear on your right, putting your head like your phone on your right ear is not good, and you should use your left one because you know how like it will mess up the left side thinking of your brain or something like that. Okay. So I noticed like when someone told me that advice, now I can't even use the phone on my left. I don't know why, but I guess because it's like I'm used to picking up my phone with my right hand and putting it on my right ear. But even if I do that, like I can't hear as well, or I don't know if it's psychological or a placebo effect or.
Might need some more analysis. Might need to study.
So your product hopes to solve this issue.
I wouldn't say solve. I just say help the issue really. So yeah, I don't want to get on the bad side of compliance.
Yep.
So
yep.
Yeah, definitely helping.
Yeah, for sure. That is really interesting. The thing is, I've met you 3 times now, 2-3 times now, and that's the first time I'm hearing about your business. That's one thing I love doing, is hearing about people's ventures and their businesses, and I think people don't talk enough about what they're doing outside of the place that they're in. Like, it's so hard to get into real conversations like this with the average person, and I always wonder why. Please explain, because I don't understand why people don't talk about that.
I wouldn't say for everyone. I think it's just because we live in a capitalistic world, especially the Western world. It's dog eat dog, especially in the business industry. So the situations like the McDonald's story, it has people premeditating what they should share or what they shouldn't share, just in case it's gonna be here today and gone tomorrow. Or if they go into a partnership with someone, that person might run off with their business idea, and you have to go into tribunals and arbitration. There's a lot to worry about nowadays.
I think
for sure.
From listening to that, from my standpoint, you've got education being the center of everything in the world, like absolutely everything, whether it's business, whether it's this, education is everything, because education streams people. So when you think of, this whole idea of everyone competing, you've got policies out there which makes the education sector compete, and then you've got the pedagogy, which again just kind of teaches competitiveness. You've got standardized testing, again that's consistently testing people, competing with people. So when you go out in the real world, you'll never have these conversations, even if people want to share their idea because you're on the same wave as me. They will never, because they've been taught to compete, and that's the education system, consistently streaming people through, you need to go into this job, you need to get this position, you need to secure this, you need to be able to pay, and it's because of these utilitarian regimes and these ideologies that are being thrown through, these customs, these norms which are engraved in education, which is not okay, because it only, again, supports those that are coming from higher or middle class. That's why you'll never have the working class people who should collectively come together more, unite, and actually go out into this entrepreneurial world and actually start to change things. Not only change things, but make money together to build up our society and our class category, or the way society stratifies that group of people. We need to bring them up together, but it'll never happen because of education.
I wouldn't say never.
Never.
Because you've got people like you trying to make a difference, right?
Yeah, but then if you think of the top of the chain, it's
think we're the next generation, though, right?
We are.
We're going to be the next ones top of the chain.
We are, but then if power is a thing that continues, you know.
Yeah.
Power is an intergenerational thing.
Yeah.
Everything's intergeneration, and you've always got those of wealth consistently reproducing wealth, and then you've got those that are underrepresented coming out of the woodwork, trying to, you know, fight against all of these different odds to fight for social justice. But then you've got, you know, those who actually control everything, being at the top of everything, policies of what happens, who's at the top. So it's, if you think about the marketplace, if you think about businesses, for example, let's go back to the topic of entrepreneurship, right? Who are billionaires? What race is a billionaire? Who is dominating the housing field? Who is dominating particular trades? So that already tells you that the ideology that's being thrown in there is a specific ideology. That's why you've got underrepresented people. Why? If you come in education, who is the traditional person to stand there and educate young people? Who? So because of these things, you'll never go into the entrepreneurial world or the business world and see people coming together, because education teaches young people from the start to compete, and that's with standardized testing, which just shouldn't be there.
That's a really interesting perspective.
But that's just something that makes sense to business and every other sector, every other field.
You've got to love the underdog, though.
You've got to,
British,
but
only if you're British. The Americans prefer the winner, actually.
right? I like the winner.
If you look at Malcolm X, like if Malcolm X didn't go through all of the trials and tribulations that he went through, would there still be a Malcolm X? You know, so you do have failures and coming from places of negative areas or being deprived, but you know, there's not saying that it's easy, but you still can come out on top. You know, you still can leave like a very
Do you know what?
Good point.
Let's go back in. Education is pushing for more entrepreneurs. They are pushing for more of these skills. They are pushing more to educate people for this capitalist society. So if they continue to do that, people are going to rise up and make money in the right places and invest in the right places. So yes, change can happen. So I take that back.
One question for all you guys. Do you have faith in this generation to make that change?
What do you mean by this generation?
Ooh, no.
Young generation, the young, I guess let's talk 30s and under.
30s and
under 30s.
No.
Do you have faith in this generation?
No.
Well, I've always heard, not always heard, sorry. I think, I can't remember who said it, but someone said that it's easier to create change in a younger person than an older person. Because an older person has already
set in their ways, built habits.
Is already set in their ways, so to break down the barriers, all of the barriers that have been set up in an older person's brain, it would be easier to break down the barriers that have already been set up in a younger person's brain. So based on that, I've got a bit of faith.
And now I can combat that.
A smidge of faith. Just a smidge.
I will combat that. When we look at the neurological, he's talking about the neurological development of a child. Yes, we understand the child's brain is working, but again, it goes back to these power players. Has anyone played chess, right? Everyone's probably played chess, right?
Yeah.
If you've got the king is practically dominating that board right now. The king and the queen, right? They dominate, and every other player is just a player, right? So those people at the top, they are consistently putting through these things. Then they're dominating technology, they're dominating business, they're dominating food, they're dominating everything. So you've got this thing of kids having the brain, because their brains are not like our brains with all these ripples, because they've experienced all these things neurologically. Their brains are like sponges, they can take in everything. But if you've got those people at the top consistently dictating what they learn, right? How are they going to learn the right thing? So for example, were you thinking the same way when you're in high school as you are now, when you've developed and you actually understand the world and you understand the contextualized things out there, and you can actually argue against things now. You've had an opinion, you've experienced things, you've gone down, you've made mistakes, you've went through everything. So now you can argue against some of the things you've learned in the education system, right? You'd say, oh, I shouldn't be doing that. But you wouldn't do it from a young age. Why? Because you are taught to listen to the bell, stand up and listen to the person at front. So if you're taught to follow someone, have a figure in front of you, follow authority, then you've got law, the law being disciplinary power, a mechanism of disciplinary power, and then you've got things like surveillance, which is consistently disciplining us, putting us in all these brackets. Even though, if you think about it, let's change that. You've got the CCTV cameras out there, right? They're out there. Half of them don't work, but they're out there as a form of policing, self-policing. We're consistently self-policing. Yep. If you think of this university, the structure of how it's built, if you open these curtains now, you'd feel like you're being watched at any point. Why is it that the buildings are shaped the way that they are built? So you're consistently feeling like you're being watched, so you conform to the norm of what society wants. So the way I understand what you're saying, I come from looking at education, not only just everything else, that I'm looking at the neurological development of a child, the historical, political part. I look at, the policies, and I look at how that's engraved in different businesses and different sectors in the world. So when you think about it, education is everything. That's why the government is at the forefront of making sure, they're putting all these different things to make sure there's social mobility, all this and all the nonsense, to make sure that everything is okay. But no, what you need to do is change it so that we can actually give young people an opportunity to be critical, be creative, have a voice. They don't have that because they always listen to authority. No, go for it.
Just to touch on that, in terms of like the neurological processes or makeups of a child, to touch on it, you've got adults that are children.
True.
Through the idea of child developmental needs. If you haven't accessed a certain need, then you're still at that level.
But is that not the point I'm trying to make, that the education system is consistently failing people?
Yeah, but then if that's the case, then we would have to look at children, or we'd have to look at the people who have been hurt by that system. So you would have to look at a 50-year-old who's got the brain of a 7-year-old because of what happened and the times and the context that they went through in their time. It's a big ball.
Very controversial.
That you have to look at, and even down to conforming. Technology is a way of conforming, but technology is also a double-edged sword. Because we do use cameras for surveillance, but we also use cameras
for protection,
but also to put out things like this. And if we didn't put this out, someone over in Sudan who could be listening right now wouldn't have been able to hear this and wouldn't have been able to maybe be inspired or do something different.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
It's
I like
a big
what you're saying about
it's a big ball game.
It's
people of different ages have the mentality of younger people. Do you think that's because people at some point decide to stop learning, stop growing?
Oh, it's a lot of
Is
things.
it a decision or is it influence?
It's a lot. It is that it would be wrong for me to just put it on one thing and say, okay, yeah, it's just this. I would say it's a number of different factors.
It is a number of different factors.
There's this one quote which I pulled out of the Who Killed Malcolm X series that we're just talking about.
Go on.
Post it on Facebook. I'll read it out to you.
I don't like touching on this subject. I have a lot of debates about this one. A lot.
The quote is, "A tree is a representation of life.
Absolutely.
Power, structure, development, response. The branches respond to light. Light is a metaphor for knowledge. If a branch is not getting enough light, it will bend and twist and do whatever it has to do to get light. And people should do the same, but often they don't."
Why? See, that quote is beautiful because it just highlights exactly what I meant. They've got it, They have to be able to go out and get it. But when do you go out and get it? Some people get to the point of being restrained for so long that they just give up and conform and go to the norm of society. Some people decide, actually, no, I'm an activist. I want more out of life. I want to go and be creative. I know I can do this. And they go out with their hopes, their dream, their ambition, all these things that they've got, and they go out and they captivate. Why? Because they just have the willpower. So they go out and they make things happen, whether it's meeting people, getting in the right spaces, navigating through society by knowing the right people, but they go out and get it because they have it in them. But not everyone has that willpower. Why? Because of those sociological factors that he talks about. They have home, they have parents, they have society, they've got bills, they've got life. It's the tree.
My question is, what does it take? What trigger does it take to be able to encourage someone to go from that mindset, fixed mindset you can call it, to change to a growth mindset and decide, you know what, I want to learn, I want to understand my knowledge, I want to understand more about the world around me.
Educating young people to act entrepreneurial from a young age. I was going to say, for example, an example that I use, right? If you're going to teach people about education, or if I'm going to teach people about just marketing or business, right? Why can't I teach people about applying that same concept in the business world? If that makes any sense. So, for example, if I understand market research, for example, why can I not teach young people to start thinking entrepreneurial in the sense of, okay, if you want to be a lawyer, have you done your market research? So again, that cross-curricular, teaching people to step into that mindset and achieve, not just go out and get a job and get a qualification and go into this, but actually to step into things that they want to do and discover new ways of doing it. If that makes any sense.
So in this case, this quote came from, this is a final quote, it's right towards the end of the series, from Mohammed Aziz, who is wrongly accused of Malcolm X's murder. So for him, it was a case, he's talking about the fact that it came out of, like, people don't change unless there's something serious or something triggering or a life experience that you've had that makes you want to, or gives you this desire to want to know more, learn more, have an impact. And knowledge is such an important part of that in general. What I love, there are some organisations actually, ones that I wish I got involved in when I was younger. So organisations like NCS, National Citizen Service. I got the great opportunity to be able to be on one of their Dragon's Den style panels when they were pitching ideas about how to tackle very serious social issues, and I was blown away by the responses I got. These are 15, 16-year-olds, and the level of presentations and research they were coming up with was just incredible. Like, they were presenting better than some of the people that I've seen present at university, and I'm like,
shows you that
they're capable.
Yeah, they're more than capable. Maybe it just takes that kind of exposure. So I guess going back to what you were saying, if something like that existed in schools and not as something on the side,
thank you.
Then maybe that's what it takes.
You'd build up those people and you'd get to exactly what he's saying.
But it's also, I'd say it's also about the provocation of thought. So if you provoke thought, you could spark something that can start forever in someone's mind. You know, it's very powerful. That's why I think in terms of like being educated, I'd say mentorship is one of the best forms of learning. You know, because if you have someone that you could look up to, look at, and, you know, take notes from, and follow and ask questions and learn, and even, you know, one thing a mentor has shown me as well is that it's not really about the mentor, it's about me. You know, and when you realize the power that you have for yourself, to me that's a big spark.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Something I wish I had way towards the beginning of my entrepreneurship journey, because it could help me to solve so many issues. But just speaking on that, some of the struggles that you guys have come across on your entrepreneurship journeys, I want to talk about the struggles, because entrepreneurship is no walk in the park. it might not be for everyone. People don't necessarily have the stomach for it, or the patience for it, or the time for it, or the dedication. So let's talk about some of the struggles that you guys have had in your journey so far, or things you wish you knew before. Maybe.
I'd studied what they had studied, business.
You wish you had studied business?
Yeah. I love what I studied because it links into what they studied, but at the same time, it doesn't link in. But my extracurricular activity helps me to understand their side of stuff. But at the same time, I just wish I could study what they were studying.
For me, so basically when I first set up my website,
Yep.
I didn't really know anything about website or web development or hosting or any of that stuff. So I just did the tried and trusted method of paying someone to build it for me. Unfortunately, I realized now, looking back, like I was getting charged a little bit too much for hosting costs and stuff like that. And also, I guess when I was, because I was working at the time, I used to work for Just Eat when I was setting up my business. So I like had a full salary, and I was sort of doing that as a like a sort of hobby. But because I had so much money, I was taking like more risks, and I was like spending money on things I didn't really need, like accounting from the beginning. You don't really need to pay for an accountant, or if you get a business account, you don't really need to pay like the premium, that they try to make you pay. Also, my website unfortunately got deleted.
Oh gosh.
And I had to rebuild it again. So from that journey, I learned that you should never hire someone smarter than you, because you'll end up working for them rather than they're working for you. So I would say, like, learn enough about the area before you approach someone. And it make it seem like you know what you're talking about. Because if you sort of say like, oh, I don't really know anything about accounting, could you please help me? And then if they're not there, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So that's also another thing. Like, your business, you need to know everything about your business. So like, you need to get out of your comfort zone, and make sure when you're working with other people to like, only like both of you know as much as possible, so that you don't like end up missing out on potential opportunities because someone was running late, or what if they get run over by a bus,
In the extreme case.
In the extreme case. But that's another thing about like your business as well. Like, you need to make sure that it's not just like one person knows everything.
Yeah.
Like, you need to make sure that, like, in terms of the training and the structure, like you spread it around so that the business can sustain and can develop, and also people can feel like they can take time off, and they're not chained to the business.
It's kind of have to be a jack of all trades to be an entrepreneur, or at least in the knowledge kind of mindset.
Yeah.
What about for yourself? What's the struggles been?
Well, it's actually really similar to Ash's actually. I would have not, or tried to rely on people as I did before. If that makes sense. So like, for example, two examples actually. I tested the theory of mixing family with business, and that theory got proven, let's just say. So doing that, and always feeling like I need to be successful with someone. I really wish I would have changed that about myself back in the heydays, I'd say, because you can do it yourself and then bring your friends or your family into the business and see where they fit, instead of trying to make them fit into the business and have it grow.
Yeah, that's a good piece of advice there. I guess for me, it's a case of like, knowing you have time. Like, for a lot of entrepreneurs, I find that once they get an idea, they want it off the ground as soon as possible. They just want to see it, start talking about it, and then when people ask you questions, about it, and you're like, oh, it's doing this place, and it puts so much pressure on you, and ultimately it kind of takes over. It can take over your life.
Funny enough, I had a full anxiety attack on my first year, and I think it was exactly because of that. And I've never had any of these things ever in my life, and it was mainly because of that, because I had gotten a glimpse of what entrepreneurship was, and I was like, okay, I can do this, I know everything now. And I literally went out there, I started pitching to people. I started telling people, I need you to be a part of my team. Like, I'm doing this thing. Like, I know it all. And I was an absolute fool because I knew nothing. I didn't even know what a business canvas was. I just wrote up everything on Word, and I knew absolutely nothing. That's why I said I wish I'd studied what they had studied, because I knew nothing, and I just got super excited and went out with that idea and got myself into this whole excitement, and I just found myself super stressed out at the end, having this whole anxiety thing, like stressed out, like, because I couldn't deal with failure, and I was like, hey, I'm just not achieving, and it was because I didn't understand the business, or I didn't understand what the different aspects of the business was, or being so it was weird.
So it's just patience, practicing patience, especially with this stuff, and having a plan. So I've got a plan now. I know what I'm going to be doing with the business up until October. After that, I'll deal with it as it comes. What I don't like to have too much is like a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan, because I don't know what it's going to develop into, and if I get too fixated on what it's going to be in the future, that can put additional pressure as well.
How did you get to that point?
The point of
just
having this mindset?
Exactly.
I'm burning out several times, realising that I'm trying to get everything up and running way too quickly and deprioritising the things that matter. Like, if I used to do these podcasts before, and I used to interview loads of people, but if I put that energy instead into building a platform, I could have the platform that I've been looking to build by now, but wouldn't have had all the podcasting and information that I've got at the moment. But at the same time as that, realising that was the part of it that I probably enjoyed the most, more so than building, keeps you going. So the reason why I'm still doing this and not just focusing 100% on the platform itself is because I know that this is the part that I enjoy doing the most, speaking to people, hearing about their stories. I love doing this, and this is what keeps me going. So even if it's at the expense of it taking longer to build my platform, it's worth doing, because mentally I'm going to be in a better place, and I'm going to be happier and more excited about working on my business, because I'm doing the stuff that I love. And you have to be able to incorporate that into your business. If you don't, then you're going to fall out of love with the journey, and that's when you crash or lose some trust.
Got to trust the process.
Absolutely.
That sense of fulfillment at the end, you know, that's what we do.
Yeah. So what's the thing that you guys enjoy most about what you guys do in terms of your businesses?
Freedom, in a sense. So, like, knowing that I'm allowed to make a decision, and it's my decision.
Yeah.
And that's that. That is like something, I don't know, it enlightens me. You know, it's like really, really, like, I don't know, really helps in terms of how I think, how I act, and even hearing other people's constructive criticism on my decisions as well. I don't know, so for me it's really helpful.
Okay. What about you guys?
For me, I guess, like, the thing that makes me the most happy is the fact that, like, I'm happy that I'm, like, talking about my country and able to, like, put Sudan on the map. Also helps me to, like, because obviously I didn't grow up there, like, to sort of feel that sense of identity loss that I have. And then also, like, to be able to research and find out more about Sudan, like, find out successful Sudanese personalities and talk to them. So those are, like, the things that make me the most happy. But at the same time, like, the negative personality traits of Sudanese people, also, you have to deal with that. So a lot of Sudanese people, they like to talk a good game. And a lot of times when you're telling them about something, they'll be like, yep, I can help you, I can do that, you know. And then they don't really deliver, or they don't really, you know, can't do as much as they say. And then basically, I think that's the biggest thing. And then I guess, like, sometimes you also get, like, why are you pushing about Sudan? Like, you know, some people can get a bit too much and get annoyed at you. But on the whole, I think it's a positive.
Definitely. How about yourself?
So what was the question?
What do you enjoy most about your journey so far, entrepreneurship journey?
I think one, learning. I'm learning to trust the process of learning all this new stuff and applying it. That's one. Two, I'm also learning that I need to learn if I want to go out and educate people about what I'm learning, if that makes any sense. So one, enjoying the process of learning, and two, applying the process of learning slowly to, you know, other young people. I think that's important. Like TJ said, the road of mentorship, you know, being there for other young people and empowering other young people and being in the right places to share that knowledge. That's what I'm enjoying, learning and sharing and transferring that knowledge.
That's great. All right, let's do some closing thoughts. Entrepreneurship. Let's hear about how you can get involved in society. I'm guessing we're probably going through a period now of re-elections.
Yes, we are. So unfortunately, our current president and vice president, they're both final year students, so they are going to be leaving.
Yeah.
So we definitely want new blood to step up and take on a leadership role. In terms of how you can find out about what we're up to and what we're doing, so we decided to stick to just Facebook and Instagram. We decided not to tweet. And our Instagram and Facebook is both MDX Entrepreneurs. We try to meet usually on a Tuesdays. That's the day that we sort of reserved. And yeah, just hit us up on Instagram or Facebook, or send us an email. I think our email is enterprise@mdxsu.com, mdx.ac.uk. I think that's it. Yeah, but I'm sure it's enterprise.
Yeah.
And yeah, hit us up on email if you want to get in touch with us. And yeah, so now it's like a transitional period. So we don't really know what's going to be in place for next year, but we definitely want to make sure that society is still functioning and existing, even if I have to come back and sort of train the next person or find the next person.
Yeah.
But definitely don't want like our hard work to go to waste.
Yeah. Sure, we have some people here
Yes.
who can take on the reins.
Second year student.
Try.
Second year student.
It's definitely a lot.
I thought the like nominations and stuff. I thought it ended.
The thing is,
some of them are open.
no, some of them reopened
Reopened, yeah.
because no one applied for them.
Oh, is it?
So I'm sure the entrepreneurship society.
Yeah, there we go. Opportunities there. You heard
Go
it
out and
live.
grab them.
You guys are both going to be here next year, right?
Yes.
I am. Yeah. Good one.
All right.
Fingers crossed.
God willing.
So what we're going to do now, we're going to draw into this show. We've got our next guest here now. So we're going to close off this live stream and we're going to start up a new one. And we're going to do a very quick game show. And then we can let you guys go through.
Sounds
Okay.
good.
While we interview the other group.
Well,
Right,
thank you.
thanks for those for tuning in. Stay tuned, stay on the page. We're going to go live again in just a few minutes.